Look at me, Dillon. I ate 2 slices of this Pizza Doctor pizza earlier, and no stains on my mostly white shirt yet. That's why I don't wear white, because I will get a stain on it. Before the day's out, I will.
Yeah, I own maybe 1 or 2 white shirts, and they've got like stains somewhere on them, so yeah. I don't wear them in public anymore.
Yeah, I'm too messy. Hey, everybody, welcome in to the DJ Preps football preview show. First of the year. We were going to have one last week, but I was sick as a dog, and I'm still trying to get over it. So if I fall into a coughing fit, John Luke will just edit that out. Brad Locke here with Dillon Barnes, John Luke McCord behind the camera, and John L. Pitts just off camera, ready to laugh at all of our hilarious jokes. And if you haven't seen the show before, we look at some of the key games coming up this weekend in the area, 3 to be precise. And we'll go through the keys of the game. We'll go. We'll make predictions on each game. Looking back at last year, I think you beat me. Yeah, you beat me pretty handily in the picks last year, Dillon.
Yeah, I separated late because you were picking like obvious games that were a team was going to win.
I got desperate.
Yeah, you started picking against like West Point and
I just started throwing the ball a little sooner than I should have. Maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So we'll try not to keep y'all too long, but we'll have, like I said, all that. We'll do the Double Trouble Award also. Before we go any further, 2 things. 1, follow us on Twitter at DJournalPreps, and 2, thank you to our sponsor, Pizza Doctor over at Midtown Pointe in Tupelo. Look at this. This pizza. It's delicious. There's a lot of good pizza. There's a lot of good pizza in this town. A lot of good pizza joints. Can't go wrong with Pizza Doctor. I would say it definitely has the best crust in town.
Yeah, I like it. To be fair, I've never ate any other pizza in Tupelo. So.
I mean, we might be biased because they're our sponsor, but like, it's not like I would let a terrible pizza place sponsor us. No. Probably.
I wouldn't
unless
eat
they
it.
paid me a lot of money. Okay, so let's jump into the 3 games to watch this week. Dillon, let's start with Nettleton at Mooreville. Both of these teams 0-1 because Nettleton had to forfeit its opener due to COVID, and Mooreville lost to Booneville in a shootout. 3 keys to the game. I'll start with key number 1 for Nettleton. I think they need to involve everyone early. They've got a lot of weapons, starting with Ty Walton at quarterback, the transfer from Olive Branch, and before that, East Union. And he's got plenty of targets like Arterian Vincent, Xavier Dilworth. Of course, he got Roderick Patterson at running back. And so get all those guys involved early and really kind of stress Mooreville's defense the best you can. And, I think Nettleton's offense has got the potential to be really explosive this year.
Yeah, I agree. They really do. And which leads us right into point number 2. And for Mooreville, it's to shore up their run defense because, last week, like you said, that shootout with Baldwyn, they give up 44 points, but also, that's what I meant to say. Yeah. Anyways, we'll get to that later with Booneville. But, they allowed 407 yards rushing last week, which is not ideal.
No, it's not.
And so, they definitely got to work on that this week because you're facing a Nettleton team, like you mentioned, got all those weapons. Roderick Patterson at running back, he's maybe an unsung hero maybe on that team. And then Ty Walton, as he displayed last year at Olive Branch, can actually run the football too.
Yeah.
And so, that'll be big for Mooreville is, hey, make sure they're not gaining 10 yards a pop on the run because Nettleton's going to have some success through the air too. So it'll be a big deal.
And key number 3, and of course, as always, it's the most important key to the game. Ty Walton kind of looks like Archie Andrews, doesn't he?
I had to look.
Are you an Archie Comics fan?
I had to look a while ago at who Archie Andrews was because I was like, that name sounds so familiar, and it hit me. It's the guy from Riverdale. And so
Riverdale. You mean Archie Comics from back in the day? It's been around since the 40s, Dillon.
Yeah.
And I know the show. I've never seen the show Riverdale, but yeah, it's based on that.
Yeah. Well, Archie Andrews plays like a quarterback or something on the Riverdale show,
and he's a ginger.
And he's not very good on the show. Like he looks very wonky throwing a football on there. So
that's a whole other thing. Actors trying to throw a football like a quarterback, and it's just there are some hilarious clips you can find.
Yeah.
Those guys don't.
I would give the edge to Ty in the athletic department at least in the ginger battle with him and Archie.
I think so. Okay, prediction time. I'll go first, Dillon.
Go ahead.
I'm going to have to go with Nettleton. I think they'll get the points they need. I'll say 35-21 will be the final.
Yeah, you look at last week what Mooreville, the product, as far as defensively giving up a lot of points, but they scored against a pretty good Booneville team. I kind of expect it'd be a similar outcome for Mooreville. So I picked Nettleton too, 42-35 in another shootout.
That'd be fun to watch. Game number 2, we got New Albany at Itawamba AHS. Speaking of potent offenses, both of these teams 1-0. New Albany coming off a win last week against East Union. Itawamba beat Amory. Keys to the game, well, key number one, New Albany, especially last week, showed that it has a big play offense. They had touchdowns of 67 and 59 yards. I think C.J. Hill broke off like a 45-yard run. And, of course, you got guys like Cameron Knox out there. And so they've got, and the quarterback, Joe Mathis. So Itawamba, which has a very good defense, and we'll get to that in a second, you got to limit those big plays against New Albany.
Yeah, and the key number two is that defense, which you talked about with Itawamba. It's the turnover battle, and last year Itawamba was super successful, made it to the 4A North Half Championship game, and did it on the back of that defense because I think it was like 52 turnovers or something that they created last year in a shortened season. If we all remember that right. So I mean that's just an insane number. That defense is obviously led by Isaac Smith, Tay Chandler back, both of the safety duo, probably one of the best safety duos in the entire state. But they've got the guys like last week, like Gavin Freeman, the linebacker. He caused two fumbles last week. They've just got guys everywhere that when they see the ball, they go and get it. And so for New Albany, it's going to be a big deal to not get overwhelmed with the turnover battle and don't get just completely blew out in that department because the ball is pretty important.
Yeah, I think they created 3 turnovers last week in that win over Amory. Itawamba did. Key number 3. Which head coach could kill a grizzly bear with his bare hands? Clint Hoots of Itawamba or Cody Stubblefield of New Albany? Both pretty big guys.
That's what I was thinking.
Fearless guys,
both,
I would say.
Both have. I mean, they're better off than me and you as far as in the size department of like fighting off a grizzly bear. Both got pretty good beards. I lack in that department. So
yeah, so you like the intimidation factor. This brings.
Like
the bear would totally be
Clint Hoots,
thinking twice about it.
Clint Hoots, like when he's in a good mood, like it's different. But like if you ever catch him in a bad mood, maybe mad at a play or something on the sideline, the eyes are piercing.
Yes.
And so maybe he could intimidate a bear. Maybe I don't know, but.
I'd pay to watch that.
I would.
Off-camera prediction, I think Clint Hoots most likely to make friends with the bear. Cody Stubblefield definitely. They both would probably take one out. Cody Stubblefield take it out. Hoots befriend it.
I think I could see like Cody like wearing the like shaving the bear down and like after he's defeated it and like wearing it as like a coat with a hood with the bear head like draped over like a hoodie. Like that would be really fun to see.
Isn't that what Leo did in The Revenant?
I don't know.
Okay, prediction. You go first.
All right, I'll go first. Itawamba won this 45-21 in 2019. They didn't play last year against each other. I don't expect it to be that high scoring. I just think both defenses are too good. New Albany threw a shutout last week. Itawamba's defense we've already talked about. I think Itawamba still squeaks it out, though. I think they're just an inch maybe better, and I picked 28-21 in a close one, Itawamba.
That's close to the same prediction I am making. I'm also going with the Indians, and I'm going to say, like you said, I think the defenses will show up to some degree, but those offenses are both tough. But I'll say 28-17, Itawamba. Okay, on to the third and final game to watch this week. It's the Skunk Bowl, Booneville at Baldwyn. Both teams 1-0. Booneville, we mentioned, beat Mooreville last week. Baldwyn beat Kossuth on the last-second field goal by Wade Barron, 32-yarder. So that's a little bit of drama to open the season. Keys to the game, well, both teams have new quarterbacks. Jamari Marshall for Baldwyn, and Booneville still trying to figure it out. They played Ben Sandlin and L.J. Shumpert at quarterback both last week. Now, we knew L.J. would play some quarterback, but he's also running back, receiver, kind of does everything. So he's not like the full-time quarterback. They've been looking at Ben and a few other guys, but those were the two guys last week to get snaps for Booneville. So, and Jamari Marshall had a pretty solid game against Kossuth. So, which one of those positions will be better come Friday? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and then that leads into key number 2. You mentioned it with Jamari Marshall. A little bit different. He's replacing Maddox Ritchie, who's was a big-time thrower there at Baldwyn for a couple years as a starter. But Marshall's more of this run-first type quarterback, great athlete there at that position. And so, the key number 2 is how good is Baldwyn's run game going to be against a pretty stout Booneville defense that features J.D. Nanny and Tat Frazier and a bunch of these linebackers that can make plays. I think you got it here. Baldwyn rushed for 140 yards last week in that win over Kossuth, and they averaged 79 a game last year, which was not typical of a Baldwin football team.
No, they had one good game running the ball that accounted for about 40% of their total yardage for the season.
So like 140 yards still isn't just super great, but it's a remarkable improvement of that 79-yard mark that they had last year. So, you know, Baldwyn will have to figure out, you know, how to turn some yards, like I said, against a really tough Booneville defense.
And finally, key number 3, again, the most important, which coach would more likely wrestle a skunk for $1 million?
I'd get in on that.
I mean, I would do it for $1 million.
I would do it. I can tell you who would not hesitate. Between Mike Maddox and Michael Gray, Mike Maddox would be all over that.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't think he would have any fear of it. I don't. And
Mike's a great guy. I love him. He's got just enough crazy in him to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just look at his hair choices, and you can tell that. Like, you know, you never know what you know.
Exactly.
You show up one day and his hair's like down, like, you know, longer than Jesus, and then the next time it's like buzz shaved. So, you know, you don't really know what's going on with him. But I mean, Michael Gray though is just a savvy vet. I mean,
he's kind of that quiet,
right,
laid back guy, but you got to watch out for them.
And I feel like, I feel like he's motivated by money. So, I mean, $1 million. Motivated by money. I mean, come on.
Well, you know, the Skunk Bowl, we got its name because I think 8 or 9 years ago, a skunk actually got onto the field, onto the sideline during that game, and thus it's been known as the Skunk Bowl ever since. So, yeah, I would.
Do we know?
I would certainly. I mean, you get $1 million, you can get all the tomato juice you need to wash that stuff off.
Do we know if either coach chased the skunk while it was on the field, tried to help the
I don't know.
aid of getting the game get back going?
I wasn't there
because that would help our key number 3 of figuring out who would do it.
True. Prediction time: Booneville or Baldwyn? I'm going to have to go with Booneville in this one. I think they got more offense. You know, Mooreville, like you said, put up some points on them last week, but I still think they do have a pretty darn good defense there. So I'll say 30-16, Booneville.
Yeah, that's very close to the score I had. I'll tell you this, I like this matchup, Booneville Baldwyn. I like to even get on Facebook and see the comments and bickering back and forth just because it is a big rivalry game, and it's as even as you can possibly get. 33-33 and 3 ties.
Yeah, in the all-time series.
In the all-time series between these two. So it's dead even. Both programs are very solid in this area, but like you said, you know, Booneville's defense, I think, will have a better showing this week than against that air raid offense that they went against last week in Mooreville. So I got Booneville 35-17. So we were pretty close there on that prediction.
All right, so those are the games to watch for this week. Look for our coverage in the Daily Journal and at djournal.com. Close it out with the Double Trouble Award, the best 1-2 punch from the previous week. And speaking of Booneville, we're going to go with Zion Nunn and Zion Young. A couple of running backs there for Booneville in that win over Mooreville. Zion, just a freshman in his high school debut, 15 carries, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, which is not bad.
And then really impressive.
Yeah, and then Young, who I believe is a junior, had 10 carries, 118 yards. And as we mentioned earlier, Booneville ran for 470 yards in that game. So those two guys led the way. Okay, so that's it for this episode of the DJ Preps Football Preview Show. Thanks for joining us. Again, follow us on Twitter at DJournalPreps. Be sure to check out our podcast. Prep Rally comes to you later today. You can find it every Wednesday in iTunes, any of your podcast apps, or online at preprally.djournal.com. Again, look for our coverage this weekend in the Daily Journal and at djournal.com. And thank you once again to our sponsor, Pizza Doctor. You can find them here in Tupelo at Midtown Pointe. It's delicious. See y'all next week.